Hello, hi, how are you? My name is Stephen Boete from Kirooto Consults, where dreams are nurtured. The last couple of weeks, I've been receiving several questions regarding the trainee courses in nursing or the vocational training in Pflegeausbildung. And applicants from all over the world, particularly from Africa, were asking me, what are the requirements? When can I apply? How can I find the right schools? How can I find the employers and so on? So I thought I could answer all your questions within this short video clip. And I'll start with explaining ideally what the goal of this Ausbildung is. So traditionally, the Ausbildung was distributed in two different patterns where you would have those who are trained to take care of people in hospitals and those who train to become to take care of old people, and on those who train to become child caretakers. So currently, the trainee courses or the training for vocational nursing has been modernized, and it has become the general Ausbildung or the generalistische Ausbildung, which is basically three in one, combining all the three professions. That means for those who are doing Altenpflege, Krankenpflege, and Kinderpflege, taking care of the old, the sick, in the hospitals and the children. So you can get a trainee, you become an examined nurse, and you can do all three professions in one. So that is now the goal, to modernize it, make it a little bit more intense and much more, a little bit more academic than traditionally, which in some way is being criticized by the practitioners because they think that the students are now not going into depth as they used to, because before one would train to become an Altenpfleger and you would learn everything about Altenpflege. And if you would do Krankenpflege, you will learn so much about Krankenpflege, everything that happens to either hospital. And if you do Childpflege or Kinderpflege, you would learn so much about that. But now you have 3 years, the same 3 years, but you have to learn all three, which is quite a lot for students, but also for the teachers. But that is your way it is. So that is the main goal about this trainee course in Pflegefachmann or the Pflegefachfrau, the way you say it. The other question that I got or I keep getting was, what does the term Pflegefachfrau or Pflegefachmann refer to, or what does it mean? So it means generally after completing your trainee program, after 3 years completion of your trainee program, you become an state examined nurse, and your title is Pflegefachmann for the man and Pflegefachfrau for the ladies. So traditionally, it was a bit complicated because everyone was called Krankenschwester, even if you are a man, and Schwester refers to a lady. So with this, at least every gender could find itself at least addressed. The other question I keep getting was, or I keep getting, is what should candidates bring along if they are applying to become nurses or professional nurses? And I usually advise students to consider the three questions. One, what is your motivation to become a nurse? Two, do you have any experience, even if it means taking care of your family members? And this might seem quite simple, but it means a lot because you already have an idea what it means to take care of an old person, to take care of your sick mother or your sick sister or whoever. So you must be interested in that. So you need to be very aware that taking care of another person is not working with a machine or with a computer. So it is very personal. It can be physical, it can be emotional. So you need to have a very clear assessment of yourself and what you really want and where your abilities and your enjoyment lies. Okay, so you need to enjoy this. You need to have the abilities to do so. But also academically, you need to have some knowledge, at least basic knowledge of biology and chemistry in high school needs to be available. So in terms of strength, I would say the key areas of strength I would always emphasize would be empathy. You need to be comfortable dealing with people. You need to be mentally strong and physically strong and resilient because it requires a lot of situations where you have to deal with loss and death and people that are mentally deranged, people that are sick, people that are weak. So you need to be resilient in that, and you need to have interest working with people, not only with colleagues, but also the people that you're taking care of. The other question I keep getting is how much do I need to pay to enroll in the nursing colleges or the schools? Surprisingly, many people don't know that it is actually free. You don't need to pay anything to become a nurse in Germany. Why? Because the various states around the country, so we have 16 federal states. So, for example, here in Berlin, the state of Berlin is the one that funds the education. This is in partnership with the company or the Betriebe where you're going to be working. So there is a system where companies contribute towards your monthly allowance and then the state contributes towards your tuition. So you don't have to incur any cost for that, okay? Which is quite good for many students. And also for those who are coming from abroad, and traditionally, if you know you're coming to study in Germany, you need to have the block bank account. And the block bank account, which is about 11,208 euros, is such a big hurdle for many students to come to Germany. Now, with this one, you don't need that blocked account because you have a monthly allowance, and the monthly allowance which guarantees that you have a minimum amount of money to use for the rest of the month. Right. The other question I keep getting is about in terms of academic qualification, what is it that I need to enroll as a nurse? So in Germany, the minimum requirement would be an MSH, which is a Mittelschule-Abschluss. To be honest, it's the lowest that you need to get. It's like a 10th grade in some countries. Ideally, I advise students to not only stop at the 10th grade, but continue, finish your Abitur, and then come, because the trainee program itself is a little bit demanding currently, and it requires a bit of understanding of different things. Okay, you could be the 10th grade or Mittelschule-Abschluss. If it's native speaker, it's understandable, but as a foreign student, I would say if you have a chance to complete your high school, complete it. But if you don't have and you only have the middle school qualification, then you also qualify to apply for the vocational training program. Then the other question I keep getting is the question around recognition of the qualification, meaning that if I qualify to become a Pflegefachmann or a Pflegefachfrau, can I use my qualification? Can I get a job within Germany and Europe and elsewhere? The answer is yes, you can get a job in Germany anywhere because they are on demand. And nurses are highly on demand. At the same time, in Europe, you can find a job with your qualification. Now, the question is if you go outside of Europe, this has to be decided upon the country where you are. But certainly the trainee course or the vocational training program from Germany is considered to be very strong and very durable. So qualified nurse here is considered to be well trained because they're all around that. They have practical and theoretical studies. So in some countries, maybe you might have to convince them by showing what you can, bringing the qualification and showing what you have studied. And I assume that in many countries, this would be accepted. But as for Germany and Europe, I can guarantee 100% that the qualification is accepted. Yeah. So the other question I keep getting is about the payment, or how much do nurses earn per month. This depends, but fixed amount is usually between 1,100 up to 1,300 per month. And this incrementally grows from the first year to the second year and third year. So in the first year, usually students or trainees will earn about 1,100 euros. And in the second year, it could be 100 euros extra and then 100 euros more in the third year. So I understand that there are some states where it's even now going up to 1,500 into the third year. So it is possible that you can earn some quite good allowance as a student while you're studying and while you're not paying tuition fees. Yeah. So the other question I get, or I've been getting quite often, was about what is taught during these 3 years. So during the 3 years of training, of course, you're going to have the initial training is going to be about Grundpflege, which is basic care. And this is all about taking care of the basic needs of a human being who is in need. things like basic hygiene, mobilizing the person, feeding, and administering basic health needs of the person. And then as you progress on, you go to the area that we call Behandlungspflege. This is a little bit much more advanced, where you do the medical related care under guidance or supervision of a professional nurse. And then you have social, where you have to look at the social, psychosocial needs of the patients. And this is all combined in one training, which is Pflegefachmann or Pflegefachfrau. Yeah. So within the training, of course, you'll handle subjects like communication, professional conduct. There will be legal aspects of health, ethical principles, data protection, personality traits, and learning to be helpful and all that. There will be basic biology, and understanding of biology for that sake is very important for those who are interested in this. Yeah. So the other question would be, or has been, what is the minimum German language requirement for me to apply? So the minimum requirement is B1, which I would say for schools, most schools are now switching to B2, because B1 is not at level where most students are able to really understand and put in the context of writing protocols and communicating to patients and administering care. It can be complicated depending on where you learned your German. So B1 in some countries could be equal to A2 or even A1.2. So it depends where you learn it from. So ideally B2, or in best cases, I would even say C1. So the better German you speak or you understand, the better integration you will have in the profession, and better you'll be able to also make it later on in the career. Yeah. So the other question I keep getting was, what is the difference between Fachfrau, Pflegefachfrau, and Krankenschwester? So as I explained at the beginning, Pflegefachfrau means basically this new qualification that you get, where you can now combine 3 in 1, Krankenpflege, Altenpflege, and Kinderpflege. So here there is no more compartmentalization of the profession. You can now have 3 training to become a caretaker in a hospital, in an elderly care home, or in a child care environment. Whereas Krankenschwester in the past was used to refer to those who are trained to work in the hospital environment, and they could not so much adjust into the elderly care environment. So now it is possible that one who is trained to handle 3 can work in both 3 environments. Yeah, so the other question I keep getting is, so I will be studying and working, how is it going to work? How does that look like in the real sense? So it works like this. In traditional cases, you have 4 weeks in the school where you do the theoretical studies, and then you have 4 weeks into the practice. Sometimes it can be 3 weeks, depending on the school and their curriculum and their study plan. But traditionally, it should be like 4 weeks in school and then 4 weeks in the practice. When you're in school, you have 8 hours, and then when you're working, you have 8 hours of work, just like any other person. Yeah. Then the other question I keep getting is about, if I am considered a worker and I go to work, can I also enjoy all other benefits like a worker gets? Yes, you enjoy all the benefits like any other worker. Besides getting the monthly allowance, you also have holiday allowance. You can have at least 30 days off in a year maximum, or you can have you can also, if you're sick, you're allowed to be sick, but in the old training, you have an only 10% sickness leave, or where you can miss classes. So you don't have so much room to be sick, because it is a lot that you might miss if you're sick. Yeah. So what's the difference? That one I answered. The other question I was always asked by students is, what is the difference between the Pflegehelfer and then the Pflegefachmann? So Pflegehelfer are those people that do the basic work. They are basically referred to as untrained nurses, and their job is basically to fulfill the valuable roles and supporting especially the hygiene and the care for people, but they do not have the official role. They cannot administer patients' health and illness protocols. So the Pflegefachmann or Pflegefachfrau are the ones that are authorized to do that. So Pflegehelfer or Pflegeassistent, they are basically there to help, right? And I think those are the main questions I wanted to answer. And the other question maybe was about what is the title of my qualification when I complete? So you are an state examined nurse. A state examined nurse means that you qualified to practice, officially to practice. And as a state examined nurse, of course, you have the stamp of the state that you're qualified to work in a health related environment, in a hospital, in a child care environment, or in an elderly care environment. Yeah, so I think those are the key areas I would like to highlight, and I hope that you learned a couple of new things. In case there is any question that you would like to understand, if something I didn't explain, feel free to drop me a message or a comment in the chat room, and I'll be able. The next videos, I would like to also talk about other professions where you can do vocational training in Germany. So feel free to comment which areas of training in Germany that you would like to learn about, and I'll be happy to consider that in my video session. Thank you, and hope to see you soon. Thank you.